The highball glass felt slippery in Alexander's grip. The amber liquid inside did nothing to calm the jitter in his nerves. He stared at the scene in the bedroom, the ice in his drink clinking softly as his hand trembled. Christian was tied to the bedpost. The silk ropes were a garish, contrasting red against the stark white of the expensive linens. What truly stole the breath from Alexander's lungs, however, was the costume. It was a lacy, sapphire blue thing, more suited for a Vegas magic show than a Manhattan penthouse, complete with a pair of ridiculous, fluffy white rabbit ears pinned awkwardly to Christian's dark hair. The poor taste was almost impressive. Christian wasn't struggling violently, but the tense line of his shoulders and the flush on his wrists betrayed the strain. Alexander's mind, suddenly terrifyingly clear, flooded with visions not of conquest, but of concrete walls, a dirt floor, and decades of suffering. A cold, profound dread settled in his stomach. This was a pivot point, a very bad one. He drained the glass, the whiskey burning a path that did nothing to warm the chill inside. He stepped into the room, his expression dark. "Hey, cut the act." Christian flinched, his head snapping up. His eyes, a stormy gray, were sharp with a hatred so potent it felt like a physical blow. The movement hitched the flimsy fabric higher on his thigh, revealing taut muscle. Alexander's gaze was dragged upward, over a stomach defined even in this absurd position, to the chest that strained against the lace. The guy was built. A distant, inappropriate part of Alexander's brain felt a twinge of gym envy. He swiped at his nose, relieved to find it dry. With a derisive snort, Alexander looked away. "Don't get dramatic. You think I wanted this? My idiots grabbed the wrong person. It's a mistake. I'm letting you go." His fingers brushed the knot at Christian's wrist. A wave of heat, sudden and dizzying, rolled through him. His knees felt weak. Oh no, this was wrong. This was all wrong. The script was flipped. The danger wasn't aimed at Christian. It was coursing through Alexander's own veins. He looked back at Christian, and his heart gave a traitorous lurch. He'd always quietly thought Christian was striking. But now it was a problem. "Just wait here," Alexander managed, his voice tight. "I have to deal with something. An emergency." To keep from doing something catastrophic, he all but crawled into the adjoining bathroom. Icy water splashed on his face did nothing. Half an hour later, leaning heavily against the marble sink, he finally emerged, feeling drained and utterly spent. Christian had watched him return, a faint, confused blush on his cheeks, his breathing uneven. Alexander ignored it, wiping his brow with the back of his hand as he moved to untie the ropes. "It's too late to head back to Brooklyn. You can crash in the guest room," he stated, his tone leaving no room for argument. "And what happened tonight stays between us. You breathe a word and you'll regret it." He waited for Christian's tense nod before turning to leave. The next day, Alexander confronted his so-called friends at a private gym downtown. "Boss, come on," one of them, Leo, whined. "The instructions were for the other guy. How were we supposed to know you'd drink the champagne yourself?" Another, Marcus, grinned. "But damn, Alex, you work fast. We listened at the door for a bit. Sounded like you had him going all night." Alexander's cheeks burned. The one making noise had been him, and it hadn't lasted an hour. He'd never admit it. When did he leave? Before dawn. And get this, he took the costume. The whole get-up, ears and all. Must have made quite an impression. Alexander was baffled. Christian seemed so reserved. Was there a hidden side to him? The fallout from his family was swift. A text from his father, Richard, lit up his screen. "Skipping the arranged meeting to chase tail? You've embarrassed the family. See the Harrison girl tomorrow or consider yourself disowned." Richard was a sperm donor with a last name. He'd married into money, Alexander's mother's money, and built his empire on it. Alexander had no loyalty to spare. His reply was brief. then disown me. He blocked the ensuing barrage of calls. The shadow of his grim future made sleep elusive. A few days later, seeking distraction, he was working up a sweat on a racquetball court when his phone buzzed incessantly. Leo again. Got a situation. Third floor lounge. You'll want to see this. Grumbling, Alexander jogged up the service stairs, his t-shirt damp, racket in hand. He pushed open the heavy door to the private lounge. The smell of spilled bourbon and cigar smoke hit him first. Christian was on the floor, held down by two men. His dress shirt was soaked, dark hair plastered to his forehead. He looked up as Alexander entered, his gray eyes unreadable. Recognition dawned with a sickening thud. This was the upscale bar where Christian worked part-time. Alexander had walked right into it. He forced his gaze away. What's going on? Leo piped up. Liam wanted him to have a drink. The guy refused, then smashed a bottle. We're just helping Liam teach him some manners. Liam, another trust fund fixture Alexander had always disliked, was holding a cloth to a cut on his temple, his eyes blazing at Christian. Alexander's stomach dropped. He had to navigate this minefield. Liam, didn't expect to see you here, Alexander said, forcing a casual tone. Liam smirked, walking over to sling an arm around Alexander's shoulders. Just a little misunderstanding. Wanted to have some fun with the new bartender, but he's playing hard to get. Found out he's your pet. My bad. Alexander stiffened. He's not, whatever. Liam cut him off, sauntering over to crouch by Christian. Hey, get up. Pour our friend Alexander a drink. Show him some respect. Alexander's vision swam for a second. This was it. This was how he'd earn his future torture. Christian rose, movements deliberate. He picked up a glass of whiskey and brought it to Alexander. Your drink, he said, his voice a low vibration. The wet shirt clung to him, hinting at the shape beneath. Couldn't be comfortable. He reeks, Alexander snapped at Leo. Give him your jacket. Leo hurried to comply, but Christian's gaze remained locked on Alexander, intense and questioning. Did he want Alexander's shirt? The only thing he was wearing? With a mental sigh, Alexander's fingers went to the hem of his sweaty t-shirt. A cool hand caught his wrist. Don't, Christian said quietly, then took the offered jacket. Liam chuckled. Not your pet. Huh? Sure looks like it. Tell you what, you two put on a show. A little shared drink. From the same glass. Without using hands. Then we call it even for the bottle to my head. Christian's jaw tightened. Then, to Alexander's horror, he took a large sip of the whiskey and stepped close. The scent of him, of alcohol and clean sweat, filled Alexander's space. His face grew hot. Back off, Alexander sputtered, shoving at Christian's chest. I can pour my own drink. He waved over a server from the corner. You, get me a fresh bottle. The server, a handsome guy with a practiced smile, quickly slid between them. Of course, sir. Alexander was about to commend him when a strong arm yanked him backward. Cool lips sealed over his, and a flood of smoky whiskey filled his mouth. He choked, shoving Christian away. What the hell is wrong with you? I never agreed to that. The slap rang out before he could think. He watched, horrified, as the red mark bloomed on Christian's cheek. Alexander took a step back, instantly terrified. I didn't mean, Liam just applauded. And I like your style, Christian. Drinks are on me tonight. He wandered off, amused. Christian merely wiped his mouth, his expression unreadable. I'll take my leave then. Enjoy your evening. Alexander stood there, stunned. His first kiss. And it felt like a declaration of war he hadn't signed up for. Later, in the underground parking garage, a hand grabbed him just as he reached his car. Christian spun him, pinning him against the cold metal door. Instinctively, Alexander's hands flew to cover his mouth, then dropped, feeling foolish. What now? If this is about the other night, I said it was a mistake. You want to tie me up? Go ahead. Just stop ambushing me. A faint pink tinged Christian's cheeks. He cleared his throat, loosening his hold. I'm not here for revenge. Could have fooled me. Alexander gestured at their position. What's your relationship with Liam? Non-existent. We travel in the same circles. That's it. He called you here today, and I'm an idiot for coming. Alexander's frustration boiled over. Just stay away from him, okay? He's bad news. The coming from Christian was unexpected. Was Liam the destined hero in Christian's story? The thought left a hollow, aching feeling in Alexander's chest. He fired his friends that night. They were a liability. Yet, hours later, stumbling into his apartment after a long dinner with old classmates, he found Christian again. On his bed, hands bound with a silk scarf this time. No costume. Alexander sobered instantly. How? Your former friends, Christian said flatly, sitting up. Peace offering. Alexander cursed, fumbling for his phone. Leo answered with cheerful pride. You like the gift, boss? I will end you, Alexander hissed, hanging up. He turned a pained smile to Christian. Let me get that. He was drunk, though. As he moved forward, his foot caught on the rug. He pitched forward, landing in a heap on top of Christian, who had somehow freed his hands and twisted to cushion the fall. Sorry, Alexander mumbled, trying to push himself up. His hand slipped, pressing somewhere that made Christian suck in a sharp breath. A low, rough sound escaped Christian's throat. Alexander froze. He knew what that sound meant. Did I hurt you? He asked, scrambling to get off. Christian's eyes met his, dark with something raw. You've had me brought here twice. If there's something you want, just do it. The invitation hung in the air. Alexander's body thrummed with the memory of his earlier, solitary solution in the bathroom. But the clearer memory was of a dark basement. It's a mistake, he insisted, rolling away and putting distance between them. They grabbed the wrong person. Christian's face cooled, his expression shutting down. A mistake? If not me, then who? The name spilled out before Alexander could think. Liam. Liam? Christian's voice was dangerously quiet. You want Liam? No. God, no. I'd rather date a cactus. It's not him. Then there's someone else. The possessiveness was staggering. Alexander finally lost his patience, ushering a silent, seething Christian out the door. Liam's invitation to a portfolio party at a members-only club came a week later. Pressure from family connections forced Alexander to attend. The crowd was the usual mix of idle wealth. Alexander kept to the periphery until Liam found him, smelling of expensive cologne and deceit. I've got a tip, Liam confided, showing his phone screen with a stock chart. Brand new IPO. Insider info. Guaranteed returns. Interested? Alexander was about to fabricate an exit when he saw Christian across the room, wearing server's blacks. He immediately stepped away from Liam. Liam's grin was knowing. I see. The master and his devoted servant act. Need any accessories? Shut up. Liam, Alexander muttered, watching Christian's expression darken. As Liam melted back into the crowd, Christian was suddenly there, gripping Alexander's wrist and pulling him through a service door into a marble-lined restroom. Why won't you listen? Christian demanded, his voice a tense whisper. I told you to stay away from him. Are you that drawn to him? I'm not. This is just a social obligation. You're being irrational. Footsteps and voices echoed outside. Panicked, Alexander pulled Christian into a stall, shutting the door just as Liam and another man entered. Set. They'll all buy in today, the unfamiliar voice said. Good, Liam replied. A few more big fish to hook, then we pull the net. They'll never see it coming. Alexander's blood ran cold. Market manipulation. This was serious fraud. Christian remained impassive, but when he shifted as if to leave, Alexander clamped a hand over his mouth, shaking his head violently. Christian resisted. In a blind panic, Alexander did the only thing he could think of to ensure silence. He kissed him. Christian went rigid, then still. Alexander held the kiss, a desperate, chaste pressure, until the voices and footsteps faded. He broke away, gasping for air. "Were you trying to get us caught?" he accused. Christian's cheeks were flushed. He didn't look angry. He looked dazed, a small, stupid smile touching his lips. "That wasn't intentional," Alexander stammered. "If you're offended, you can kiss me back." Christian's eyes focused. "Can I?" Later, Alexander said, flustered, "We need to leave." But when they emerged, chaos had erupted. Smoke drifted from a vent. People were shouting, pushing toward the exits. "Police are downstairs." Christian's hand closed around his. "This way." He led Alexander unerringly to a service staircase. They descended flight after flight in the thickening smoke. Alexander's last memory was of Christian's grip tightening, and then nothing. He woke in a sun-drenched room. It was tastefully furnished, serene, but his ankle was encircled by a slim, silver chain, tethering him to the heavy bed frame. And on the walls, paintings, dozens of them, all of him lounging on a sofa, him on the racquetball court, mid-swing. One, shockingly, of him in the blue lace and rabbit ears. They were beautifully rendered, achingly intimate, and deeply, profoundly private. The door opened. Christian entered, carrying a glass of milk. "Christian, let me go." He walked over, his movements careful. "Drink this. Go to hell." A blush spread across Christian's cheekbones. Alexander glared. "Why are you blushing? You're the one with the gallery of stolen moments." The first few days were a battle. Alexander ranted about freedom and legality. Christian would just hold him, tight and trembling.
"I'm sorry."
"I can't lose you. You're always looking for someone else." The confession stunned Alexander into silence. Christian, in love with him, it upended everything he thought he knew about his role in this story. He learned to negotiate. Threats of hunger strikes or tears softened Christian, earning small freedoms. The chain removed, his phone returned, though the nights saw those concessions repaid with a fierce, relentless passion. When he finally checked his phone, the messages were a deluge. His family, news alerts, a call from Leo. "Boss, where are you? Your dad's company. It's tanking. A bunch of people got arrested." Liam and his father were taken in by the feds. He hung up, his mind racing. He thought of his mother. He needed to see her. It took pleading and the promise of allowing Christian to come along to secure his release for the visit. His mother lived in a quiet, ivy-covered house in Connecticut. She greeted them with polite curiosity, serving iced tea on the patio. She assured Alexander the financial and legal troubles of his father's world could not touch her. The divorce had been clean, the assets separate. Relieved, Alexander took Christian's hand. "Mom, this is Christian, my partner." She studied Christian for a long moment, then smiled softly. She summoned her housekeeper and returned with a velvet box. "This was my mother's. I'd meant it for Alexander's spouse one day. I'd like you to have it." Inside was a delicate platinum bracelet. Christian looked utterly shell-shocked, then overcome with a quiet joy. Alexander's throat tightened. "You're not disappointed?" Her smile was wise and a little sad. "I only want you to be happy, Alexander. Truly happy." On their way out, they encountered Richard's second wife on the driveway, coming to beg for a bailout. Alexander blocked her path. "He's not my father. Not in any way that matters. Leave my mother alone." The woman left, sputtering. The world outside was crumbling, but inside the car with Christian, something felt solid for the first time. Christian's anxiety eased after that meeting. He stopped trying to lock Alexander away, though his presence became a constant shadow. "So, It was a surprise when Christian announced he had to go out alone one afternoon. Seizing the chance, Alexander made his own plans, meeting friends at a downtown bar. But on the way, he saw Christian through the window of a quiet coffee shop, sitting with an older, handsome man who was smiling warmly at him. A cold dread gripped Alexander. The other protagonist. He'd finally arrived. He burst into the cafe. Christian. Both men looked up. The stranger's smile widened. You must be Alexander. I've heard a lot about you. He glanced at Christian, who had the decency to look abashed. It was confirmation enough. A fierce, desperate possessiveness rose in Alexander. He wouldn't give him up. Not now. He's my boyfriend, Alexander stated, his voice surprisingly steady. I'm not stepping aside. Not for anyone. He pulled Christian to him and kissed him, firmly on the mouth. Acclaim. The stranger blinked, then let out a warm, rich laugh. He reached out and ruffled Christian's hair. Christian ducked his head, smiling into Alexander's shoulder. Easy there, the man said, extending a hand. I'm Elias, Christian's brother. The world tilted. Alexander shook the offered hand, his face burning with mortification. Elias, still amused, asked for a moment alone with Alexander. Once Christian was fetching more coffee, Elias's demeanor grew gentle but serious. Christian was in law enforcement, undercover. Case went bad. He was held for a long time. Changed him. Gave him scars you can't see. For years, he couldn't let go of the work or the fear. Then, during this recent investigation into the market fraud, he told me he wanted to stop. He wanted to build a life. He said it was because he'd found you. The drive home was quiet. That night, in their bedroom, Alexander opened a bottle of wine. Christian was hesitant but finally agreed. With a pleasant buzz softening the edges of the world, Alexander leaned close, his lips brushing Christian's ear. He nodded toward the painting of the blue lace. You kept that, didn't you? Want to see it in person? Christian's breath hitched, his eyes wide. Yes. Later, tangled together in the wreckage of the sheets and the silly blue lace, Alexander held Christian close. The chain was gone, but a different kind of tether remained. You don't have to be afraid of the past anymore, Alexander murmured into the dark. I was afraid of the future. We were both scared when we were alone. But we're not alone now. Christian was silent for a moment, then his arms tightened. With you, he whispered, his voice thick with certainty. I'm not afraid of anything.